All right. I'm going to try this again. My name is Dr. Emily Pastor. Okay. Hi, I'm Dr. Emily Pastor. I am an audiologist, and I am a person with unilateral hearing loss. What does that mean? Well, it means that I actually have very normal hearing thresholds in my left ear and significant unaidable hearing loss in my right ear. And exciting news is that I have decided to get a cochlear implant for my bad side. So I thought I would share some of that experience and let people know about my hearing loss, see if anyone else out there is just like me, and then talk about why I decided to go forward with cochlear implant, and then ideally probably record some of the experience, maybe my nerves before the surgery for the internal part, maybe a little bit right after, so that people know what happens right around that time when you get the implant surgically implanted. And then when I get the activation of the external part that basically turns me on that side to sound. And then some of the experience that I might have after I get the implant and some of the training that I have to do to help myself hear better through that device. So this first video is just kind of to introduce you to me, my experience with my hearing loss, and then maybe I'll do another video before the surgery to talk about why I decided to do this. And you'll probably catch on when I talk about the symptoms or the reason, or the hearing loss and how it works. So a little bit about myself. I have had this hearing loss my entire life. Again, unilateral hearing loss means one side. It doesn't hear well. Now, it could be a mild hearing loss and be a unilateral hearing loss, or it could be a severe to profound hearing loss and still be one-sided if there's one side that's totally normal. Some providers or professionals in the field will call this single-sided deafness. I don't necessarily love the term single-sided deafness because even though I don't hear, maybe I am deaf on that side, I'm not deaf. I'm essentially a member of the hearing world as long as I have this good ear. But if this ear were to go, I probably would be more in the deaf world. So hearing handicapped, hearing disability, unaidable hearing loss, and I'll talk about that a little bit. So I have had this hearing loss since I was a baby. My mom expressed that she sort of tested it out a little bit when I was even maybe still in like a car carrier, and she would whisper, and she just noticed that I didn't really respond on one side. So at some point I was tested and I was fit with a hearing aid for my right ear. And I probably wore that for a couple of years. And then I remember being in the 4th grade, playing with my hearing aid. I turned the hearing aid all the way up on my bad side, and I put my finger, plugged my my good side, and I didn't hear any better. I just heard Charlie Brown's Teacher or just garbly-gook. It didn't give me a benefit. And I figured that out early on in the 4th grade. I turned it off. I took it out of my ear. I put it in my backpack, and I never put it in again. There was a point when my mom was trying to advocate and just say, why aren't you wearing the hearing aid? And I said, it's not doing me any good. I don't want to wear it anymore. Plus, it was big and beige and ugly, and that was a component. Vanity in 4th grade as a young girl was definitely a piece of it. So I haven't worn anything in that ear for a very long time. I, in fact, denied having hearing loss as much as I could. I ignored it, even if people had to repeat to me. It wasn't horrible. I was embarrassed when I couldn't hear. There were times where I would sit in the back seat of the car and pretend I was sleeping so that I didn't have to be expected to respond to the adults in the front seat, because I couldn't hear them, and it got exhausting asking them to repeat. I got embarrassed when my parents had to tell the person on my bad side, oh, hey, Emily can't hear you on that side. She has hearing loss, and I didn't want people to know. Every year, once a year, I had to get my hearing tested. My mom would take me, and so 364 days of the year I ignored I had an issue. Once a year I had to face the facts that I couldn't hear out of that ear. But otherwise I would try to not let it bother me. I went through school sort of sitting close to the front with my good ear to the teacher as much as I could, but if I was moved around, I didn't argue. In college, I sat up front if it was a class I was interested in. But one thing I found, while at least in school, is that I was always tired, and I just wanted to take a nap when I got home, or take a nap in the library, take a nap in my friend's room between classes. I was tired a lot, and it really wasn't until I got into audiology and my advisor said, well, of course you're tired. You have to work twice as hard to hear what your classmates with normal hearing can hear. And boy, was that like a wake up. Like, that was such a relief to know that somebody understood that I was always tired, but there was a reason for it. And I got sleep, but I had to study harder. I had to work harder to get the grades that I tried to get the best I could to keep up with some of my friends, because I had this hearing loss. And so now I think that my hearing, well, it was better when I was younger, and I've had some progression of my hearing loss to now it's a little bit harder. I always joke that one of the positives of having a bad ear is that I can go to sleep with my good ear down and shut off the world and or snoring that might happen, screaming kids, a TV on. I put my good ear down and I can sleep a lot easier. So that is nice. On the downside of that, I don't always hear my alarm clock. So in college and grad school, roommates would just come pounding on my door because I wasn't aware of my alarm clock. So I had to figure out ways to get a different tone to wake me up. I can't make myself sleep on the bad side, because I actually feel very comfortable when I'm sleeping on my good side and the world is quiet. So growing up, I never thought about audiology. I was going to be a dentist, but it's hard, and you do have to study hard, and you have to get good grades. I was very devastated when I wasn't going to make it to dental school, but it turns out the path for me was something that is near and dear to my heart, which is hearing loss and audiology. So I became an audiologist, and now I talk to people all the time about my hearing loss. I'm very open about it now. I have to tell people that are sitting on my bad side, total strangers, hey, just so you know, you're on my bad side if you want to talk to me. I'm not ignoring you, I just don't hear you. And that is a lifelong habit that I've had, where going into a restaurant, sitting down at a table, a group, a small group, a big group, I have to find the spot where my left ear is going to be the ear that I can hear people with, and my bad ear is going to be off to the side. If I'm in a booth, the person's sitting on my good side. When I started dating my husband, we were dating and I would have to sort of remove myself or like walk around him so that I got him on my good side, which was a little bit weird for him because most gentlemen want to put themselves between you and the street, and there were certain occurrences where I'd have to put myself closer to the street so that he was on my good side. So I can be the passenger really well because my good ear is to the rest of the car, and the driver, when I'm the driver, it's frustrating because I can't hear the passenger and I can't hear my kids in the background or in the back seat. So there's things that are very frustrating about even a one-sided hearing loss that you'd be like, oh, well, you have normal hearing. Why do you even need to go through the process of a cochlear implant? And those are the things. It can be very frustrating day to day. What? Huh? What did you say? My kids have to repeat themselves. My husband has to repeat himself, especially when they're like talking softly on my bad side. So my hope is that that'll get better. But again, I've had it my whole life. I haven't found the answers, and we'll talk about that a little bit, but I'm hoping for something positive to come out of this. And I just want to put it out there in case there's somebody else that is in this same boat. I don't have friends that have hearing loss, not at this point. I think I'm 49. In the next 20 years, people will start coming out of the woodwork with different kinds of hearing loss, noise-induced hearing loss, age-related hearing loss, family genetic hearing loss, that, I'll start, being able to talk to everybody about hearing loss. But for most of my life, I've been the one with hearing loss in my circle. Nobody else has one-sided or unilateral hearing loss. My patients, I run into a lot of them with hearing loss, and we can talk and commiserate together, but only for the time that I'm with them. So if you're someone who's like me, please reach out. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your stories, your tricks, if anything's worked for you. If you got a cochlear implant and we don't know about you, and you had hearing loss for a long time before you got it, that would be great. It would be great for me to give me some hope on how this cochlear implant is going to go on my ear that I've had this loss for a long time. So please reach out, and I hope to hear from you. Again, I'll put out maybe one more video before the implant surgery to talk a little bit more about why I am choosing to do that. So otherwise, we'll talk to you soon.